while we have spoken a lot about drugs, right, the pharmacological approach, which is critical, but the non-pharmacological, the lifestyle approach still makes a big difference. And we talk about on this call very often about sleep and the importance of sleep and nutrition and movement. Exercise doesn't have to always, all movement is not exercise, but all exercise is movement. And so we talk about all of that. Practically, from your perspective, what have you seen? Because as people get older, of course, some of these things get harder for sure. But how do you think about it, and what do you talk about when it comes to these topics?
So like you mentioned, I think sleep, mobility, and cognition, three very, very important subtopics for all geriatric population discussions even. So we'll maybe start off with sleep. Now, this is such a common thing. I can tell you that 90%, 90, maybe more than that, 95% of people that I see have some sort of sleep disturbance. Now, that might be an acute sleep disturbance after maybe hospitalization or something like that, or it might be a more chronic disturbance, which is also exceedingly common. And really, just briefly to say that simple things being simple, sleep hygiene is the word we're using now to modify how we deal with sleep. And it's the same as you would for an adult. So no caffeine after 4 o'clock, reduce your daytime sleep, make sure that you sleep at the same time. So these are all things that are a given. But the natural aging process actually also decreases the amount of sleep that a person gets. So there's decreased sleep, there is increased nocturnal awakening, there is decreased REM sleep as well. So this is a natural process. So I think many people kind of beat themselves up and say, oh, but I'm not sleeping. But actually that's a normal part of aging. That's number one. Number two, you always feel that you've slept less than you've actually slept. So polysomnography will actually tell you that if you chart their sleep, they're actually getting a little more sleep than they perceive themselves to be getting. And the most important thing of all of this is that if for a short period of time they are requiring some kind of help with sleeping, they have to readdress. We can go back and see why they're not getting it and go through like a sleep diary and kind of figure out. But one very simple trick is not to keep a bedroom clock. I didn't even think that this was a real thing, but people get up and look at the time, and that increases their sleep arousal. So it's simple things like that to actually make sure that you sleep better. It's a normal aging process. It does happen. It will happen. And there are different ways of dealing with it as you would with a normal adult. So that's as far as sleep is concerned. Mobility exercise is the one longevity drug. If there's one thing that there is a huge amount of evidence in whichever format it is exercise. And with the older adult, I think I have seen that if they are active through their 60s, they tend to be continuously active through their 70s. So I think the key in this is to start early, stay active, and then it's easier to stay active. However, with mobility restrictions, there are so many options that you can still utilize even with reduced mobility to stay active. Like my husband's an orthopedic surgeon, so he keeps telling everybody isometric, isotonic exercises, static exercises. You don't need to really, like you say, all movement is exercise. It doesn't need to be, there's no rocket science to it. But mobility helps in all respects. So definite evidence for that. Cognition is also a very important topic. And I just want to very briefly speak about cognition. Usually you see a decline, say you're seeing a decline in a parent after 70, 75, 80. There are very simple tools on the internet to actually assess this cognition. So you have things like a mini mental state exam, you have, drawing a wheel. There are lots of evidence-based tests or scales that you can use to assess their baseline. I think it's very essential to look at their baseline And then that is the only way you assess a change. The delta you're not going to appreciate if you don't actually know what their baseline cognition is. You'll be surprised how we feel just with a simple conversation that cognition is at a reasonably good level. But when you actually test it, it turns out to be different to what you expected.